So people will call up and they'll start talking about analyzers, and big one is, and this isn't picking on any one country, let's hypothetically pick on one of our bigger customers, the United States. And there's a lot of rules and regulations, and it can be confusing to a lot of people who who aren't in the industry. And we get that. We have people that their job is making cement. Their job is making steel. Their job isn't understanding all the environmental regulations. They want to outsource that, or they have people that specialize in that. So when we look at analyzers that we want to utilize, most of the big name analyzers, you can be very confident in that work to meet your regulations because they're a big name company with big reputation. But for us, whenever we deal with a lot of manufacturers in Europe, and in Europe, it's completely different than North America. In Europe, if you want to sell an analyzer, you have to submit it to the government. The government has to inspect it, and they put a stamp on it that it's approved. And this inspection isn't like, a 2-minute kind of inspection. Basically, they take the analyzer for a year. They do TUV testing in the case of Germany. So they will run it through its paces, linearity, cross interferences. They have special rules. The cross interference has to be less than 4% overall cumulative. You have to have less than, I'm going to know the exact number, but 4% for temperature fluctuations of greater than 10 degrees Celsius. They have a lot of rules, and they check this unit out for a whole year, making sure it meets a certain maintenance requirement, meets all the linearity, cross interference, all the regulations. And then they put a stamp on it saying it's approved. And it goes on a list of approved analyzers. So when you are going out in Europe and you're saying, I need to buy an SO2 analyzer, you buy from anyone on that list, and the government says, we don't need to test it. It's already been approved. Whereas in North America, means Canada and the United States, it's completely opposite. The government allows you to go and buy whatever you want. If someone can convince you to buy a shoebox and say it's an SO2 analyzer, that's your problem. You have the freedom to do whatever you want. Yeah. But because you get that freedom, you basically buy anything you want, you would go and install it. Now the government's going to say, I don't know what you bought. I don't know how good it works. So we're going to have to test it like crazy. So that's where we get into all the additional testing that a lot of customers get overwhelmed with. So you buy an analyzer, you install it. First thing we want to do is make sure it powers up, runs, get it operating, make sure it's communicating to your data acquisition system. But then the government's going to say, I need you to do a zero and span calibration every day, which means a zero gas, some gas between 0 and 20% of full scale. You're going to inject it in and do a low reading. Then, and this is where it gets confusing, depending on the regulation you're in, if you're in Canada, you're going to pick a concentration between 80 to 100% of full scale value of the analyzer. If you're in the United States, part 60, you're going to do 55% to 100% of the full scale reading. Part 75, you're going to do 80 to 100%. And you're injecting this span gas. And you're going to do it every day. And then every quarter, you are going to do another set of tests called cylinder gas audits, where you're basically going to take 3 additional bottles for each component you're measuring, and you're going to inject them 3 times each. And I know this starts getting confusing, but it gets confusing for our customers as well. So you have to do all this testing to prove that the linearity is correct. And then on top of that, on an annual basis, depending on where you are geographically, sometimes every 6 months, you have to have a third-party group of people come wheeling in with a truck full of analyzers and full of wet chemical analysis to actually analyze your stat gas and compare it with what you're getting on your analyzer. So here's the difference is Europe, government approves it, you buy it, minimal testing. Canada, US, you buy whatever you want, install it, and because the government has no idea if it's going to work or not, they do lots of testing after.